The whole region, all the economies, all the governments here have set as a strategic goal EU integration, which means that it is easy to harmonize policies, which is a sound ground for better and more intense cooperation in the region. Well, the second is there are processes in place which intend to heal the wounds from the past. There is still to be done. The region has walked a long way since the beginning of the 90s, the troubled times, but still, of course, needs to get focused on resolving bilateral issues which are still there in place. But again, it's good that there are processes that deal with these issues. The third strength is the fact that just the human resources, the people of the region, who have proven to be really hardworking, talented, successful, even compared with other colleagues when they go to the European Union member states, they prove to be successful. They are courageous, and among them I would list the business people, who most of the time are even one step before the politicians in terms of overpassing the problems that make more difficult the regional cooperation in the region. And these are, I would say, the soft strength. The hard strengths, I would say, the geographical position of the region is key. For your information, there are about 500 trucks per day traveling from Turkey to Central Europe, which on the other hand represents a potential which is untapped, unused, for clustering industries along these corridors, communication corridors, which then represent a potential for private investments, jobs, revenues. The region has a great potential to develop tourism, green forests, deep blue seas, very rich cultural heritage, a lot to show to the rest of the world. When we talk about mobility, it's the idea for these people who are highly qualified, that have difficulties to find a job where they live. We are trying to create the conditions to make their movement around the region easier. First, by recognition of professional qualifications and university diplomas, and second, relieving the legislation that allows for work permits and work residence for those who are highly qualified and then they want to find a job somewhere else in the region. I cannot say of a percentage of those who are highly qualified, but actually in our Balkan barometer we have asked people, and there is of course a tendency to leave the region. And this represents even a challenge for the governments, how to motivate these people to stay here, serve here, and have a better life here. This is why we try to alleviate this problem by offering a possibility to these people, not just outside the region, but within the region. And this is the basic idea of this skills and mobility flagship that we have in our strategy and work program, that intends to create additional opportunities for these people to stay and not to leave. Our governments of the region have already agreed, not only on the principle to create this opportunity to the highly qualified people, but they have agreed on two sectors, considered as priority sectors. One is medicine, the other one is construction. And within these sectors, to 4 professions: architects and engineers, dentists and doctors in medicine, as priority professions for which we intend to move faster and have it even a kind of a pilot project. And we expect that by the end of this year, the negotiations for the mutual recognition of qualifications in these 4 professions will be already started. It's difficult for me to distinguish between what I wish and what is realistic. as all the people in this region, including you, I believe, we want a better life for ourselves and for our people. And we're trying to make this happen. I'm really encouraged that in the last years, the region is moving faster. Let me remind ourselves that before the economic and financial crisis, global crisis, our region was the fast growing in the whole European continent. Now that we're speaking, growth has recovered. We are about to present to the governing board of the SE 2020 after a few days in Dubrovnik the results of our monitoring system, and it looks like we are creating more jobs and that the economic growth has returned, although modest but steady, which means the signs are very good. And we very much hope that this process will be consolidated and pushed forward. And this is even what RCC is trying to promote. There are still problems which remain from the recent past. And our people, our government is still to work on consolidating the confidence. Building confidence was a matter years back, but now is to consolidate this confidence, which of course then will make our cooperation much easier. There are difficulties in economic cooperation within the region. We have been monitoring the intra-regional trade. Although there is an instrument in place, the CEFTA agreement, since about 10 years, it looks like the intra-regional trade has not progressed as expected. Connectivity is a problem for the region, and it's a problem, connectivity within the region and then between the region and the European Union. Connectivity means transport, infrastructure, energy, but we shouldn't forget about ICT, and there is where RCC intends to get focused now. ICT means broadband connectivity, which again is infrastructure, but it's not only that. It's harmonization of legislation, enabling online services, including online trade, cross-border cooperation, and last but not least, interoperability between the systems. You cannot talk about good cooperation and using the comparative advantages of our economies in the region without having interoperable systems. We don't call it a project, but we have a product for which we are very proud. It's the Balkan Barometer, made of two parts. One is the public survey and the other is business survey. There was no institution, there was no public opinion survey in this region since very long. So RCC took this initiative to couple the monitoring of the processes via the statistical data that we collect from the statistical office, the national statistical offices, with how people feel about it. Because one thing is what happens in reality that you can measure, and the other thing is how this is perceived by the people. This is the third edition of the Balkan Barometer that we are about to publish in a matter of weeks. We believe it's a great tool that helps governments shape their policies in accordance with even how people feel and what are their main concerns. It helps academics, it helps the civil society, it helps everyone who is interested to understand how people and businesses feel about developments in the region. There are several difficulties, but not really major ones, because basically there is the will and the readiness to cooperate. The region is working in promoting economic cooperation. Regional economic integration is very much on the table now, and we expect the Trieste summit will take decision on a multi-annual action plan to progress in terms of integrating economically the region. But this has caused some very legitimate concerns from the government, from those governments whose economies are more progressed in terms of European integration. They want to make sure that this is not an alternative to European integration. But actually this is not indeed an alternative to European integration, although sometimes it's perceived like, it's a kind of deviation from that. So, and they were a bit hesitating until they got guarantees that this is not a matter of concern. And there is, of course, no panacea, there is nothing magic that can change the situation from one day to the other. The key to success is, of course, national governments implementing their development strategies, not only nationally, but even working closely with each other to make possible that the whole region progresses in this direction. But no special or magic interventions that would change the situation all of a sudden. It's just perseverance, hard work, determination.